up, you guys? Welcome into episode 4 here on BNC Sports Network. You already know our names, but just in case you forgot, I'm Max Calderon, and joining me as always is Chris Beasley. A little bit of a different format here now that it's summertime and Chris and I are a few states apart. We've got the FaceTime call going today, and we'll have a little bit of a shorter show. So, Chris, what do you say we go sport by sport and get this thing going?
Let's do it, Max.
All right, we'll lead things off with the MLB. It was Mother's Day weekend, and a bunch of teams donned the pink jerseys and accessories, but all eyes were on Yankee Stadium Sunday night as Derek Jeter had his number 2 retired.
Hit toward the hole, Jeter backhands from the outfield grass. Got him!
Chris, how cool was that ceremony for Jeter and Yankees fans everywhere?
The ceremony for Jeter was absolutely amazing. You know, it was great that they were able to get all those guys back together to come and, celebrate the retirement of his number. I also thought it was a great gesture by the Astros to have Beltran come out and give him a jacket. So, I think, Jeter was a, top of the league guy, class act. Every organization wishes they could have a guy like him who played for them. So I think that, besides the Yankees losing, I think everything that night went as planned and was fulfilled successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the commentators talked a lot about how the Yankees know how to throw a party and know how to throw a ceremony, and getting all those guys back together, having Jeter there, for sure, first ballot Hall of Famer. It was a pretty special night.
It was a really special night. All right, Max, now that baseball season is in full swing, why don't you give us a look at your top 5 power ranking?
All right, so start things off at number 5. I got the Cleveland Indians. I know their record doesn't really show that they're, a top 5 team, but this team's getting it together right now. They're getting healthy. The offense is picking it up. If their 2-3 middle of the rotation guys can pick it up and start performing at the level they can, Danny Salazar, Carlos Carrasco just got hurt. But if they can help out Corey Kluber, this team's going to be dangerous to make it back to the World Series this year. At number 4, I've got the red-hot New York Yankees, 22-13. They lead MLB with a plus 53 run differential. That offense is just insane, led by Aaron Judge, who might hit 100 home runs this season.
He's not human. He's not human.
He's not human. He's just a massive mammoth of a being. That 4-man outfield that they've got, Jacoby Ellsbury, Brett Gardner, Aaron Hicks, they're all playing really well. And Starlin Castro's hitting close to 400. If this offense can't be stopped, and they're a little bit ahead of schedule as far as the rebuilding process went. They should be a playoff team this year. At number 3, I've got the LA Dodgers, 22-17, sitting below the Colorado Rockies in the NL West right now. But they've got the pitching, they've got the offense. Cody Bellinger just came up, and he's hitting a whole bunch of home runs. Again, Dodgers are going to be scary in October. At number 2, maybe the most complete team right now, the Washington Nationals, 24-13. Bryce Harper looks like an MVP candidate again after that down year last year. Max Scherzer is the reigning Cy Young winner in the National League. Ryan Zimmerman's having a career year. Daniel Murphy, Anthony Rendon, they're all solid pieces, and they just got Trey Turner back. Man, this team looks really scary. But at number 1, got to give it to your boys, the Houston Astros, 27-12. They're running away with the AL West. They're 8 games up right now. They're getting contributions from everyone. It's not just the stars in Altuve, Correa, and Springer. It's Marwin Gonzalez. It's Jake Marisnick. It's McCann and Gaddis. And everybody up and down that lineup. Dallas Keuchel looks back to 2015 Keuchel. Lance McCullers coming into his own. That team is really, really fun to watch. And honestly, I hope they do it this year. I'd love to see him in the World Series.
How about Chris Davinsky out of the bullpen?
Davinsky looks like the new Andrew Miller. I kind of love this whole thing where managers go with one guy out of the pen in any situation, and Davinsky seems to be the next guy up. I had him on my fantasy team and just made the mistake of dropping him for a spot starter, and he got snagged by somebody else, and I'm really upset about it.
Yeah, that was a bad move on your part.
And then outside of the top 5, I just want to throw in the Red Sox and Cubs are 2 teams that a lot of people think will get into the playoffs. They will pick it up. They're too talented not to. I left off the Orioles and the Rockies, who are each playing great baseball and at least tied for their division lead. The Cardinals as well, playing really well. My sleeper team this year is the boys out in the desert, Arizona Diamondbacks. Out at NL West, but they're starting to get it together. That team is coming together well, led by Paul Goldschmidt and A.J. Pollock. Exciting things out in the land of the cacti.
Yeah, we'll see how the Cactus Boys do throughout the season. All right, let's move over to the NHL. Max, all 4 of your previous predictions went to at least 6 games, and now the conference finals are underway. In the East, it's the Ottawa Senators taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins, and over in the West, it's the Anaheim Ducks against the Nashville Predators. Max, have any predictions for a Stanley Cup Finals matchup?
Well, I would like to say that 3 of those 4 teams I did pick. Only one I got wrong. I didn't have the Senators beating the Rangers. But, for not knowing too much about hockey and just being a diehard Blackhawks fan, doing pretty well so far in the Stanley Cup playoff predictions. So, both of these series right now are each tied at 1. I'm going to go with the Penguins because they've got home ice advantage over the Senators, and they've got the best player in hockey, Sidney Crosby. They're tough to pick against. And then on the other side of things, the Ducks and Predators, I love that Predators team. Their goalkeeper, Pekka Rinne, has been playing out of his mind, but they're still a little bit too inexperienced going up against a Ducks team who's been towards the conference finals each of the past couple of years. I think they get it done this year. Anaheim makes an appearance in the Stanley Cup final. Now, Chris, over in the NBA.
Great pass by Curry, running hard by Iguodala, and superhuman defensive recovery by LeBron James.
Conference finals have also begun there. Golden State Warriors squaring off with the San Antonio Spurs, and the Boston Celtics going head-to-head with the Cleveland Cavaliers, both the 1 and the 2 seeds on each side. Before we dive into predictions, I want to get your take on your thoughts with the previous round. The NHL is always having close games and long series, but in the NBA, those conference semifinals were on pace to be the largest margin of victory in NBA playoff history. It seems that the NBA is going the opposite direction than hockey with all these blowouts and quick 4-game sweeps. What does this mean for the sport of basketball?
I just think that the separation between the seeds, and talent is, I think it really matters. Take the Rockets-Spurs series, for example, the 2-3 matchup. A lot of people had the Rockets advancing to, the Western Conference Finals, but, I, being a Houston Rockets fan, getting beaten like a drum by the Spurs in, 3 of the 4 losses, it sucks. I don't want the NBA to get like this. Of course, in the playoffs, you want close games, teams, games coming down to the wire. But I really think the NBA is starting to go away from this, that, some teams are really becoming super teams, and, they almost become invincible to, the other teams in the conference. Take the Warriors and the Cavs, for example. Neither of them have lost a game in the playoffs. The Warriors are 9-0. Are going to be 9-0 going into tonight's game 2. So they're 9-0 going into game 2 against the Spurs. The Cavs are 8-0, and they're about to start their series with the Celtics, and I honestly think the Cavs are going to sweep them because you can't stop LeBron in the playoffs. It doesn't happen. Now, after this injury to Kawhi, I know he hurt his ankle in game 5 of the Rockets series, and he was able to sit out 6, and they were able to win by a huge amount. But I think without Kawhi, the Spurs don't advance. I'm honestly gonna go ahead and say Warriors in 4.
So you've got both of the Warriors and the Cavs going, NBA Finals round 3.
Yep.
Each has a 4-game sweep. Interesting.
Yes, and
I think you're right. With the health of Kawhi Leonard up in the air, that's kind of the kicker for the Spurs. Without Tony Parker, if Kawhi can't play, they're done for. And I think you're right. Boston coming off a long and exhausting series with the Wizards. The Cavs are going to sweep them too. We're in for 3rd time's a charm with the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and no disrespect to the Spurs or the Celtics, but both the Cavs and the Warriors are coming off 8 or 9 days rest. They're fresh. These other 2 teams are not. It's just it's part of the playoffs, and that's part of the bad thing of the Cavs and the Warriors having these super short series. They just, they're taking a vacation in between series, and the NBA should really try and find a way to make sure that this is not a reoccurring thing.
Yeah, I think we're only going to see more of it though. With the Clippers are probably going to disband. You've got Chris Paul and Blake Griffin that are going to go be big keys somewhere else. Paul George is probably going to leave the Pacers. All these other teams are only going to get stronger. So maybe that'll make the competition at the top a little more equal, but the competition at the bottom is going to be so below the rest of the league. It's just, I just want to get back to the days where 30 teams all had a shot at the title, or all had a shot at being playoff teams. Yeah. It wasn't so Golden State versus Cleveland every year.
Yeah, I agree, especially with all these teams about to disband their, groups that their lineups we've known for so long. If Paul George goes to, say, the Thunder, that just made the Thunder a whole lot better than they already were. And the Thunder were a good team this year. I know they were the 6th seed, and they lost in the first round, but Russell Westbrook did all that by himself. If they get just one more guy, like I think I said it a few episodes ago, they're going to be title contenders. And you take Chris Paul off the Clippers, and rumor is he might go to the Spurs, but anywhere he goes, he's going to make that team better. And the thing is with all these free agents going to these teams that are already so good, it just makes the rest of the league a lot weaker. And I guess you can start labeling more of these guys as ring chasers at that point, because it's like they're forming an all-star team and they're having to play against a bunch of rookies. It just, I don't know, it's not good for the league.
Yep, I agree.
All right, now always, we'll end our show with a taste of Baylor, and it was recently announced that Yale point guard Mekhi Mason will transfer to Baylor at the start of the 2018-2019 season as a graduate, making him eligible to play right away. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a little odd considering he still has 1 year of eligibility left at Yale. And I also think it's odd because Mekhi Mason absolutely destroyed us 2 years ago in the tournament. I think he had, 30-something points, and they were a 12 seed and we were a 5 seed, and he sent us home early. So I think it's a little bizarre that the team he, handed it to a few years ago, he suddenly has interest and wants to join us. Now, sure, I think he'll really provide a spark to our offense. Being a point guard who can score, we haven't really had a lot of those at Baylor. I know, currently we have Manu Lecomte, but he's more of a shooting guard. He's not really a point guard, and I think having a true point guard who is a scoring threat will really be good for us. It'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table once he gets here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The irony is not lost on us. This guy that led Yale to beat us in the first round of the NCAA tournament 2 years ago now decides he wants to come to the good side and join the Bears. But like you said, he just declared this with a year left at Yale, and he'll come as a graduate transfer in 2 years. It's a little odd, but you know what? I'll throw my hands up in the air and take it. Mekhi Mason, we're excited to have you in Waco. And the Bears baseball team is currently rolling right now on a 12-5 stretch in their last 17 games. They've won 8 of their last 9, including a 5-game winning streak that they're putting on the line tonight, Tuesday, against UTSA. So, in my opinion, this could not be better for Baylor. This is obviously the best baseball season we've had since 2012. They're 32-17 overall right now. Only 12-10 in the Big 12, but Big 12 is loaded as probably the best conference in college baseball. We've got an RPI at 13 right now and the third best strength of schedule. I think this team has a real shot to do some damage in the NCAA tournament, where we've got a bid locked up. All that remains to be seen is where we're going to play and if we're even going to host a regional. I think if Baylor wins tonight and then goes and sweeps Kansas State this weekend, there's an outside possibility that there could be some college baseball in Waco in the coming weeks. That's really meaningful.
Yeah, Max, I actually covered the series last week against Prairie View A&M. Prairie View A&M, they're a good ball club, but they don't have the athletes and the coaching that we do. That's no knock on them. But after watching our 2-game series against Prairie View, we have a really good team. Those were the first 2 games I managed to catch all year just because I've been busy. But, we really do have a good team. We can really hit the ball. Our pitching, we weren't pitching our aces against Prairie View, but, the guys that we pitched, they're probably normally bullpen guys. They were able to piece together 2 games, and, that's what you need. You got to have guys who, they're not, you got to have depth, and we really have depth, and that's good. And, hopefully we can get, this sweep here against Kansas State, and fingers crossed we bring a regional to Waco and get some playoff baseball here in the coming future.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a young roster, so if nothing else, this is experience for the guys that are coming back next year, and only bright things in the rest of Coach Rodriguez's era here at Baylor.
Exactly. All right, guys, well, I'm going to do the outro today. As we wrap up episode 4, we'd like to take this time to remind you guys to follow us on social media at BNC Sportsnet. And be sure to send us your suggestions for our next topics to talk about. Stay tuned on Twitter and Instagram to find out when our next video will be up. And go ahead and leave a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. As always, we'd like to thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. For Max Calderon, I'm Chris Beasley, signing off here on BNC Sports Network.